Good morning, but this is episode number 3?
This is episode number 3.
Episode number 3. To the final third.
Yes. Good morning. Hello, everybody. My name is Bill Ulivieri. I'm a Glenview resident, Glenview Chamber of Commerce board member. I'm the owner of Senecal Capital Management. We're a state-registered investment advisory firm. And I am here today with episode 3 with Matt Berrafato and Charmaine, owner of Always Best Care Senior Services here in Glenview. So today we're going to be talking about power of attorney, long-term care, the issues that seniors have. Matt's going to share a story about his dad. So why don't we just get the ball rolling? Please, why don't you guys introduce yourselves, Charmaine?
Sure. I'm Charmaine Conaghan. I own Always Best Care. We are a caregiving agency here in Glenview, right in the heart of Glenview. We've been here for 8 years, and we've helped a lot of families and seen a lot, so I hope to share some of our experiences and help any of you who are listening in the process.
Beautiful. This is Matt Berrafato, the Elephant Hunter. And my goal is to, I'm a speaker and author. I got a new book coming out called Purpose or Passion, Which Comes First. And it's all about those of us that are living the final third of our life. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But there's issues that we all deal with. And I think that issues that we're dealing with are things that, what we want to do here is add value to those of you who are either, if those issues are not happening right now, they're sort of in reach.
Right.
And to me, you know, the final third is my dad happens to be 90, divide his age by 3, he's the oldest living relative. Well, that means when I'm 60, I'm going to be in my final third if I live as long as he is today.
Right.
Now, that's not a guarantee, but that's sort of where we're going on this. And the issues are plenty. We don't need to come up with new issues. So I think that today we're going to share some things of, you know, if I knew now if I knew then what I know now is a little bit of what I think we're going to get at
right,
here.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm hoping, and so, you know, with you, Charmaine, with what you do, it's you know, you are, everything you do is about people that are in this final third. You're going to deal with it some way, and
yes.
If it's on the peripheral or.
And I think Charmaine and we originally had a conversation some months ago because I received my Illinois life insurance and long-term care certification to sell insurance. And Charmaine was like, hey, Bill, you're selling the stuff that my clients are using. Let's have a conversation about how we can optimize that. Let's make sure that the policies they're buying are really good for home health care. And Matt's dad was... had dementia, and you dealing that further down the road, where my mom is 86 and is just entering the Alzheimer's dementia scenario. So we seem to be touching base on different areas, primarily with our parents and the people who are in our business and that we service. So, Matt, why don't we just start with you for a few minutes? Tell us a little bit about your dad, your visit with your dad today. Then, Charmaine, you can pick up a little bit on the conversation you shared with us before we went on camera about the power of attorney issue.
Right.
And then we'll just, you know, again, we have the freedom to talk about whatever we want.
Beautiful.
When we want. So it's just off the cuff.
So what's funny is, not funny, what was interesting, Bill last episode asked me, Matt, what's it going to be like? He wanted me to give him a little glimpse into what's happening. Into the future. If you have someone in your family that you love that is dealing with dementia. Okay? And I said, well, Bill, if you're in the final third, if you're watching this, you'll recognize the title of this show. It's called The Twilight Zone. And the Twilight Zone is perfectly describing what your life will be like. Like the experience I had this morning, which was a new episode, because you don't know who is going to show up in the body of my dad, who I've known for 60 years of my life. And all of a sudden, this guy shows up that is so far removed from what I know my dad to be, but it is him, I love him, and whatever, and the things that came out of his mouth were not the truth.
Right.
And I had to sit there and it was the craziest thing. And so we got him a caregiver, and a full-time caregiver, and he is saying what he thinks is in his mind the experience, which, because they don't have a memory, this is the hardest part about dementia in my opinion, is you don't remember what you don't remember.
Right. Oh yeah.
So you think that I remember this was the discussion, and immediately it's exactly false, and then I got to challenge him to the truth, and I got to call him, if I'm going to really push it, I got to call him a liar. Yeah. And it's not even, I got to be careful. I don't do that.
Right. I'm sure you would call him a liar, but you know, one of the first things that you learn when you are educated on how to help or live with someone who has dementia is you have to enter their world.
Right. Exactly.
And you know, if they think it's, you know, if it's February 16th, and they think it's May 16th.
You go with May 16th.
It's May 16th.
Yeah.
You know, but it's really hard when your hand is forced in a situation like you're experiencing, because he did fire his caregiver. He doesn't remember firing his caregiver. Spoiler alert, that's what happened. Sorry, you were getting to that. And then, you know, you've got to kind of find a way to help him understand what the reality is right now and why the reality is what it is right now, without making him feel foolish, without agitating him. And you also don't remember what he's going to remember from this conversation in a half hour or the next day.
Or the next minute.
Yes. So it's all about being in the minute, in the moment.
Yeah. I kind of found myself like fooled, because when my mom was in the hospital after suffering a fall, she had to get a hip replacement. That when she was in the hospital, it almost seemed like she was more alert and more aware, and my conversation with her was more like one-on-one adult, where it was always like mother-son before then. Like I never really felt I had a great, honest, super adult conversation with my mom. She was always on as mom. And so she shared a story with me about something that happened to her in the 50s and 60s. She was like in a gang, okay? And but it really was just a bunch of girls getting together with like Happy Days kind of school jackets with like a little devil embroidered on the upper left-hand breast pocket. And so I'm like, wow, this is a part of my mom I never met. But really what it was is she was just remembering something that happened back in the 50s. And it was her dementia was sharing the story with me. It wasn't that she felt like we could be adults now in the same room. So you guys have already kind of had that conversation, and maybe you feel like you're always on the defensive with a conversation with your dad, but I feel like I'm still kind of gullible enough to believe everything that comes out of her mouth, and I don't know if it happened in the 50s or it happened today.
Right. Well, so Charmaine, how do you do what you just told me we have to do when
Stay in the moment.
How do you give us some advice? What do you do? Because it is just, that's the Twilight Zone part of this.
You just really have to keep reminding yourself of, you know, what you're trying to accomplish. You just really have to be top of mind, preserve his dignity, preserve his self-worth, and keep him as calm as you can, and help him enjoy every minute, because really the present is all he has.
Right.
So making the present as meaningful as possible, and as lacking in agitation and controversy is really all you can do for him in the moment. So you got to keep him safe and content. So
the question is, when he's not being safe and you have to act, how do you do that? Because that's what was happening in the moment. We're trying to do that thing, but if he double takes his medication, that's not good when it's all blood pressure medication, and he's doing that he's doing that all the time. So it's like we're trying to. Well, you try to prevent that from happening. You know, there's devices out there. We've got the device. We've got the medication dispensers with locks on them. And what I'm saying is that when it's happening in the moment, and we want to not let that happen, or you want to let him live that and whatever, but you have to because he's not letting you do what is. I don't know. I maybe there's not an answer.
No, we're Italian. We have all this emotion, and
that's the thing.
We escalate right away.
I think you need to check yourself. That's the first thing you need to do, is check yourself.
Yeah. Check your passion at the door.
You're up here. You're up here. That's not going to help.
Easy for you to say.
I know, right?
And then what about my wife, who if I'm there, she's here.
Yeah. And don't you feed off each other? And if you're like this, your dad is gonna feed off of that, right? So you have to. Your number one job is to remain calm and remain in the moment, and really think on your feet of how to get through this and how to fix it.
So, Charmaine, before you had brought up the concept of a power of attorney, and again, being top. One thing that you said before is that you have to make sure that your parents are living in the present, right? I think the same could be said for all of us. The truth is, we don't have yesterday. We may not have tomorrow. All we have is the present, and that applies to all of us.
That's true.
So, tell us a story, maybe a recent story if you like, something that happened to you in your world of home care services, and how, what are some of the obstacles and issues that you see in your world?
So two of the things I brought up to these gentlemen before we started this was power of attorney and having it versus not having it, especially when you're dealing with someone with memory loss. And another thing that I experienced this past week was helping someone, a couple who the husband ended up in the hospital, and was being released after only 2 days in the hospital, and he clearly could not go home where his wife would have to be responsible for him, and she is, a third his size, and he was just not able to go home safely. So what do you do in that case? So those are the two things that I don't know if we'll get to the second thing.
Okay.
The first thing was the power of attorney issue. First of all, I would like to say that everyone should have a financial and medical power of attorney in place, no matter how old you are. So that should just be, I advocate advanced directives called the 5 Wishes. And
I love it.
Is it a legal document, the 5 Wishes?
It is in Illinois, yes.
Okay.
It's not a legal document in every single state. And a power of attorney on top of the 5 Wishes is still recommended because there are certain nuances that a power of attorney document can accomplish. But the 5 Wishes just speak to, when you can't speak for yourself, how do you want everything handled? And I won't delve into that, but it is something that is a good idea for everyone to have.
Is it something they can download off the internet for free, like LegalZoom, or do you really encourage that people contact an estate planning attorney or an elder law attorney? Like who?
I do recommend that people contact an estate planning or an elder law attorney. However, that can be a barrier. Sometimes people put that off and put that off, and they get intimidated. And where I do believe that is a wise step, and it is something that you absolutely should do. In the meantime, perhaps even just to start the conversation, you simply Google 5 wishes, and you can find it. Okay. I actually at Always Best Care have several hundred copies of it in my office.
Right. So if people wanted to contact you,
contact me. I can give you one.
Very good.
So that's no problem. So when you have power of attorney, your loved ones, whoever you designate to be your power of attorney, can speak for you when you cannot speak, and that's if you're unconscious. But it also can be used when you are not sound of mind, and it's very difficult to try to get a power of attorney once someone is in, well along their journey in memory care and memory loss, because the defenses come up, and they
don't have a problem.
There's some paranoia here. Yep. There's paranoia. There's defensiveness, and you're trying to take over my life, and I'm the mom, you're not, or I'm the dad, you're not.
That's right.
It's the reasoning becomes, and then you get a fraught situation where you're both like this, and you don't want that. So the sooner you can get a power of attorney.
Who enforces the power of attorney, Charmaine? Like, say, for example, I was visiting, hypothetical, I was visiting my mom and dad. I bring over a pizza. My mom has a fall. We take her to the hospital. My dad stays behind because he doesn't want to go with. And the caregivers or the ER room, the ER nurse says, do you have a power of attorney? Yes, but I'll have to get it back to you later. Like, what prevents me from just saying anything that I think is right for my mom while I'm there at the ER? And it might be a complete contradiction to the power of attorney because I've never seen it.
They won't, well, correct me if I'm wrong, they won't act on it unless they see it. At least by my experience, because there's liability here.
So they're going to let my mom die if I don't have power of attorney?
If there's a decision that she was totally unconscious and they're going to save her life, they can't ask someone. So then what do? Who's the power of attorney?
They will do what they have to do to preserve her life, unless there's a do not resuscitate on hand that they have.
So that's something I should have with me at all times? Is it a document I can have on my phone that I could send using email?
I have my file right there. I carry mine wherever I go, because if someone says I don't have it, I say, here.
Is your phone locked?
Huh?
Is your phone locked?
It is, but it's not on my phone. It's there. I carry it with me when I'm doing anything.
We're actually promoting a folder that incorporates all of that information, and we recommend that people have that folder filled out. And that folder includes your med list and the 5 wishes, and we recommend people have that filled out and in a place where their children or their significant family members know where it is, so that they can be brought to the hospital in the event of an emergency. We actually advocate for that, but how many people do that?
You don't.
All right, so we're up against 20 minutes, believe it or not. So let's close this episode, and we're going to do episode 4.
Okay.
And then we'll pick up right where we left off. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Where you can reach Bill at where?
Senecal Capital Management, www.senecalcapital.com, or they can call me here in Glenview, 847-686-4800. Charmaine?
Always Best Care Senior Services, Glenview, Illinois. We are seniorcarenorthshore.com or 847-730-5930.
Matt?
And me, Matt at elephanthunting.net. And we'll see you next episode.
See you in 2 minutes. We'll be back in 2 and 2. Somebody used to say that.
Make sure that it was listen.